Margaret Lagerstead, Adult Services Librarian at the Thomas Crane Public Library in Quincy, Massachusetts, and I would like to introduce John Greiner Ferris, our in-house exhibitor for the month of January. To kick off the new year, John is exhibiting a collection, The Intersection of Art and Science, on our Floor 1 display space at the main library. Hi, John, and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you.
This month, we present The Intersection of Art and Science to the Quincy community. This collection was shot on a USB microscope camera. Can you describe what that is exactly and how the equipment you've used has affected your resulting images?
Sure. Well, I actually have it right here. This is it right here. Here's the microscope here, and it connects to the USB port, and I put it on a MacBook Pro, which is what I'm on right now. Here's the barrel, and in there is some LED lights. Here is right here the way you focus, and then there's a little toggle switch here for the lights. And I actually usually don't even use the lights or even the focus. I'll just kind of focus just by moving it up and down. It is so basic. You can get these online, or you can get them anywhere for like several $100s. This one was actually given to me by my daughter, who's a marine biologist, and she knew that we like nature and I make images. This costs about $20 on Amazon.com, and it's the thing that I love about it. It is so basic, and like I said, I even take away the lights and the focusing. I make it to the point where I consider it like a box of crayons. It's that simple. And so that's what I use. So
in using that, in knowing that that's the equipment you were going to use to create your images, did that affect the resulting image, or do you know exactly what you were looking for when you kind of zoomed in?
No, this is what makes it so fun and exciting, because especially when I first got it, you never knew what you were going to see. It was such a shock that this is what something looks like at 1000x magnification. I mean, what's at the part of the exhibit there at the library is garlic. That one night I was cooking and there was garlic sprouts, and I just put that under the microscope. The other thing there it's just a geranium petal, like a single petal, not the whole thing. And you're just shocked by what you see. I'm getting used to what I'm starting to see. The other thing that there is some oregano. That's sort of like the shadowy things. And again, you never know. That's what's so much fun about it. You just don't know what you're going to see, but it just shows you what is like right under our nose. And again, it's science and it's art, and I just think it's such a great merging of the two.
And yeah, and you did say that your daughter gifted you this particular camera because you have a love of nature. What drove you to use plants or vegetables or nature as your subjects for this particular collection?
They're pretty interesting to look at. I mean, I've looked at lots of other things. It's just I don't know. I mean, I've used other stuff, but it's just nature has a way of, cell structure from way back when, and all that other kind of thing. So I can't explain it. It's just there. I mean,
just a natural draw. We love it.
Yeah, it's just sort of. I've just kind of learned over time they're a little bit more interesting than, say, like a block of wood or something, or not that wouldn't be. It's again, it's really extraordinary what things look like at 1,000 times their size.
And in addition to a love for nature, you have a background in theater. Does your work in the dramatic arts influence your photography in any way?
That's what's funny. I get that question a lot. I can't say, what happens is everything feeds on it. So I do a lot of things. I mean, I'm a writer, a photographer, theater. I've worked my entire life as a writer and a photographer. So I've always used my artistic abilities to pay the rent. So it all kind of works together. Okay, so like I got my first camera when I was 15. And then I went to school for photography, and I didn't grow up in a house where there was art. I mean, we just didn't have it. And so it was in college where I was introduced to theater. So art came first, then theater, and it all just kind of merged together. I will tell you though, the one thing that I did learn from theater is I've worked a lot of things in the theater. I started 2 theaters myself. I was an actor. You don't walk into a theater and just buy a ticket, sit down in a seat and say, entertain me. That's not the way it works. It's like those actors can feel you in the audience, even when it's quiet. You need that energy. And it's the same thing that happens. You should walk into a gallery and there should be some energy. You shouldn't just walk into a gallery and say, oh, entertain me, show me some pretty pictures. I mean, the worst thing I think could ever happen is you walk out of a theater or a gallery and go, well, that was nice. Do you want to get some ice cream? I mean, you should feel it, and you should be moved. And it could just be joy. It could be thoughtful, but it should be something. And that's sort of what I want to get out of this. I mean, those, like when you said, well, what did you see? I mean, from nature, like those the images that I chose, you can see that garlic pulling as it's sprouting, its tension pulling against itself, or the like the oregano, or like these haunting kind of images that are emerging from the shadows. And again, I got that from just simply taking this and moving it. Focus doesn't necessarily mean anything to me. I mean, it's very non-traditional, as my theater was. Kind of like the old ways of, how do you judge art or something like that. That got blown away starting in the 60s, but even in the 80s. And I think it's great. Let's just, or even some people might say back in the beginning of the century, of course, with Picasso and Braque and all that kind of stuff. But in the mid 20th century, it just got blown away. And I love that. I love that we're no longer beholding to, what I sort of call like the academy or something. And that's actually the thing that I love about this is, like, for $20, anybody can do what I did. You don't need a degree in art. You don't need a degree in science. But you can, like I said, for $20, and everybody's got some sort of digital device, you can do exactly what I did. And that's really what I want people to do.
That kind of leads to my next question too. And you talked about, there being a relationship between the art and the viewer, or the theater and the audience, that it's kind of it is a relationship. It's not just something still. And what is it that you hope people take away from this exhibit in particular?
Again, that knowledge that, like, what's right under our nose. I know this is going to sound so bizarre, but right now you and I are on a little rock that is traveling 167,000 miles per hour. And we're so unaware of really nature and even kind of the way Einstein saw the world. And it's all right under our noses. And it's really there. You can see it. It's beautiful. And it's all accessible to all of us. I mean, and in our society, everybody knows Tom Brady and sports. And I think that's wonderful. I think sports are really important. But I wish art and science kind of held the same position in our families and our lives. There's nothing wrong with sports. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying people can talk about the Patriots and the Celtics, but they can't talk about art and science. And for some reason, they seem intimidated by it. Somebody will go out and play golf and they'll just hack, but it won't stop. They're not playing like a pro. But if they can't draw like Leonardo da Vinci, they won't, they're intimidated. And you just draw like you play golf. I mean, you should have that same kind of experience. And I think that's what I'm kind of hoping for. The other thing is I'm actually hoping for is that some of the art and science teachers in the Quincy Public Schools pick up on this and kind of, because again, it shows how the two worlds, you know, how it is in our schools. Oh, he's really good. This kid's really good at math, but you can join the two worlds. It isn't just art or science. It really can be both. And honestly, I know that because I know that's the way I am. My daughter like I said, she's a marine biologist. She grew up in the same world I grew up in, and you honestly can use both sides of your brain. It's not, you know, yeah.
And after we visit your exhibit here on floor 1, where else is it that we can see some more of your work?
First of all, of course, online. There's Instagram and my website, johngrinerferrisstudio.com. And Instagram is John Griner Ferris Studio. I am so appreciative of Thomas Crane Library for putting this up. Because, in Quincy, there's hardly anywhere where you can put up artwork, especially like this. It's very conservative here. And the arts here in Quincy, I just don't understand it. There's so many ways you could do it. Because I live in Quincy, I can't do it. But the Boston City Hall has like 3 galleries. Where are our city buildings? You guys have them, and that's what makes it so wonderful. We have so many restaurants in this city. Why isn't artwork hanging on that? And on the walls in these restaurants, and even the restaurant could sell it and give a cut. Get a cut to the restaurant. There's so many ways to promote art, and we don't have affordable studio space. We don't have affordable, or there's gallery space. So there's not a lot of places to see it. I did recently. I was in Kingston Gallery in the SOA section of Boston. I'm in online magazines and stuff like that. But I really want the hometown crowd. I look at Quincy and there's so much possibility. And again, the Thomas Crane Library, with the way you always have this monthly thing, is just wonderful. And I can't say it enough.
Well, we definitely appreciate that, and we're glad to have you for this exhibit.
No, I don't mean it. Sometimes it's. I love Quincy. I really, really do. I don't mean to make it sound like it is criticism, but I think it has to be said. There has to be more outlets for the arts here, and not just. Like I say, it can be very conservative. Like this work is considered by a lot of people here in Quincy as being really avant-garde and cutting edge. It isn't. What's out there, and it would just be nice if Quincy stepped up its game just a little bit. And thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to say that. I mean,
Of course. And after this exhibit, whether it be digital or if it is in a studio space or a gallery space, or even a theater, what projects upcoming we have to look forward to?
I continue to, again, do my commission work. I write and photograph for the arts, for the Provincetown, not the Banner, Provincetown Independent. And so I continue to write for them. And then I'm working on a long-term project on a regenerative and educational farm in West Dennis. So I'm doing that. That's sort of like the commercial side. And then COVID actually gave me the chance to do something I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time, which is do mixed media, 2D art. And I just turned my kitchen in the middle room of our apartment into a studio, which again is the reason why I said it would be really nice to have some studio space. But I've been working really hard on 2D mixed media. Again, that was some stuff that was in Kingston Gallery. It's been in a few other places online. Again, it's all on my website. So that was your question about what it all feeds together. To me, it honestly just all looks. I know it sounds crazy, but it all looks the same to me. It's just coming from the same place. And when COVID happened, and I started to do 2D work, to me it was just like, well, summer turned to fall, and I just put on a sweater. I just sort of shifted a little bit. That's all it was for me.
And as a fan of the library, what books or a book are you currently reading, or would you recommend that you've read previously?
I am reading with stickies to put in The Lives of the Artists by Calvin Tompkins. I'm reading that right now, and I have got a bunch of books that I just got and I have it written right here because I just picked them up yesterday. Tachi Oyebuchi, who is a Nigerian writer, and I read the first couple of pages of, I think it's called Riot Girls, and I was blown away. I can't wait to finish this other one to start those. I'm one of those people. My wife and I are both. Susan Fernley is my wife. We have stacks of books just everywhere, and we just, plop down and read books. So
a lot of us here are guilty of that too. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Is there any final words of wisdom or any kind of final comments you wanted to leave us with before we part?
Just that, again, art and museums and galleries, I think one thing that sort of keeps people away is they get a little bit intimidated. And again, I grew up in a household where the biggest piece of art we had was a clown painting by Red Skelton. I don't know if you know, and it wasn't until I was introduced later, and it's really for everyone. Don't play, and it's the thing that just, I do it every day. And I think if more people did it, again, the one thing I always say about artists is we're not doing brain surgery. If we screw up, nobody dies. So you can just make mistakes, and to your point, you can just be surprised when the microscope gets turned on, and what do you see? I mean, I would encourage every person in the world to develop that artistic side.
Well, thank you so much. No, we love it. Thank you. And you can see the intersection of art and science on display on floor 1 of the Thomas Crane Public Library for the month of January, and we hope to see you there.
Hi, this is Kelly, and today I will be reviewing Why Fish Don't Exist, a nonfiction book written by Lulu Miller. In this book, Miller, who finds herself going through a difficult time, decides to look for inspiration. She comes across an historical figure named David Starr Jordan, who was the founding president of Stanford University and also a taxonomist. He's known to have classified thousands of fish species in his mission to bring order to the natural world. Miller immediately becomes curious about his life. She is intrigued by his unrelenting desire to map out the tree of life, despite all the setbacks he experienced. Somehow, Miller believes that she can find the answers to her own struggles by exploring his life and to determine what it is exactly that keeps him moving on. This book is a fascinating look at taxonomy and effortlessly blends history, science, and philosophy. I initially thought a book about taxonomy would be dense and dry, but I was pleasantly surprised to find that it was the complete opposite. Miller is an expert at bringing complex topics to life. She is very skillful in making topics accessible for readers who may have little background. Throughout the book, she ties in her personal experiences for a truly engaging and insightful read. She also has a wonderful sense of humor, which shines through each page. The book starts out light and optimistic, but takes a dark turn as the story progresses. Miller does not shy away from the darker parts of U.S. history, and the answers that she seeks are often not quite what she had anticipated. A special feature of this book, which also happens to be one of my favorite parts, are the gorgeous illustrations at the beginning of each chapter. They are a treat to look at. Few books left a warm impression on me the way this book did after I finished it. If you enjoy reading about history and science presented in an engaging and empathetic way, you will enjoy Why Fish Don't Exist. So pick up your copy today by visiting thomascranelibrary.org or access a digital copy at Overdrive, which has both audio and ebook formats available. And thanks for watching. Hi, my name is Kelly and I'm a staff member at the Thomas Crane Public Library. Today I will be reviewing a book called Love and Color: Mythical Tales from Around the World, Retold. It's a debut collection of short stories written by Bolu Babalola, a British-Nigerian writer. In these stories, Babalola reimagines 13 myths and folk tales into modern stories. She focuses on myths from different cultures with an emphasis on West African tales. Each story revolves around love in its various forms. In fact, Babalola isn't afraid to offer a bold and fresh update on the original tale. This often involves dismantling outdated notions of female roles that are evident in the original tale. The result is a collection of vibrant, empowering stories that show diverse female characters with agency, and they reflect the social changes evident in today's society. It's also nice to come across some familiar characters and others that I had never heard of before. What I look forward to most is seeing how Babalola uses her creativity to retell each story. She sometimes goes as far as to reimagine the tales in a contemporary setting. Despite these changes, she maintains the spirit of the original story. And these retellings show how the lessons and themes of the myths and folktales are very much relevant today. Unsurprisingly, given the short story format, a lot of action happens in very little time. As someone who is not as familiar with West African mythology, I was pleasantly surprised to discover new tales and characters. I recommend taking the time to become familiar with the original tale before reading Babalola's version, especially if it's one you've never heard before. Given that many myths and tales evolve over time, this reimagining is like a continuation of that evolution. Overall, I highly recommend Love and Color. This book showcases Babalola's creativity and genius. The 13 individual stories revolve around the concept of love, but the collection is also like a love letter to the myths and folk tales themselves. She turns traditional love stories into inspiring modern tales, and in doing so helps to introduce a new generation of readers to these timeless tales. So pick up your copy of Love and Color by Bolu Babalola today. Visit thomascranelibrary.org to request a physical copy, or visit Overdrive to access it in ebook or audiobook formats. And thanks for watching.